Hello and welcome to Soul's Compass Healing. My name is Brianne Lazinski. I'm a human being oriented towards social justice, and I am speaking to collective themes in these videos. And if you are interested in how I might approach supporting people using evolutionary astrology on a one-to-one basis, please visit my website. It is linked in the description of all of my videos. And I am so grateful for the souls that decided to let me in to support them on their journeys this past year. I know it sounds cheesy, but it has been an absolute honor to witness these souls on their journeys. And I am very, very grateful for the ability to use evolutionary astrology for healing. And it never ceases to amaze me how accurate evolutionary astrology really is and how helpful it is. And so today we are going to speak to this Capricorn new moon happening on December 30th, 2024. And I want to begin by acknowledging, as I kind of have been in recent videos, the fact that the lunar nodes have been in the Aries-Libra axis for the last 1.5 years. And during that time, Pluto has been in and out of Capricorn, Aquarius, and now is finally in Aquarius. No more Pluto in Capricorn, okay? We, got through a layer there. So why I'm bringing this up is because I really do think that this last 1.5 years has been an opportunity to be initiated into our own individuation so that we can make our unique individual mark for collective healing. So, in other words, the more that we heal our inner world, that is actually a service to the collective. And as we see the North Node in Aries, 1 degree Aries, going to move into the sign of Pisces on January 11th, with Chiron stationing direct tomorrow, December 29th, all of this happening very closely together, there is this element of acknowledging spiritual pain. So if we look back to humanity's history, we can look to the nodes of Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, who are all in the sign of Capricorn, telling us that humanity's history has had a distorted Capricorn issue. Jeffrey Wolf Green talked about this plainly and simply, to the point, by saying that these systems are inherently flawed when they are built upon man-made laws, as opposed to natural laws. And so when we consider where we are at currently as a species, watching the structures of our society continuing to hold the grip onto these man-made laws, to wield power over others, targeted others, while benefiting and giving power to certain others, I would like to take a moment to remind us that our faith might be very much tested. And it's a moment for us to look back on our ancestors who have had to fight to survive generation after generation after generation. And I know that there are varying levels of fight to survive. Sometimes it's metaphoric, sometimes it's very literal. But I think in all of our ancestries, no matter where we come from, we will find somewhere in our line that being a literal fact. And so I want to send the message of encouragement, of using our hands, which is the, coming out from our heart space, which is the biggest electromagnetic field that we have as humans. We can use our hands to shelter the light, the candle that is within us, from the winds that are blowing around. That it is okay to take time. It is necessary to take time to shelter our candle and our light, and to hold steadfast to truth, to natural law, and in so doing, we remember that this is in our bones to do this. This is in all of our ancestral lines to do this, is to keep showing up. And it is hard. It is hard. And yet it is in our bones and we know how to do it. If we've been forced into silence, if we have been oppressed, if we have been targeted, all of these issues that will be coming to the surface as we spend more time initiating this Pluto into Aquarius era, we have to hold on to this. We have to hold on to this. And I want to point to the fact that Pallas Athena is joining this new moon in Capricorn. Pallas Athena is an asteroid goddess who, very briefly, is known for her insight, her, like, as fast as a lightning bolt, being able to, like, see a vision and interpret it, and be able to communicate the deeper wisdom behind it, right? She is known as a intellectual wisdom keeper who is rooted in both masculine and feminine qualities, right? And what I find interesting is that when we consider the topic of justice, which I often do in these videos, because again, it's my orientation, it's also reflected in the astrology. We can use the symbolism of Lady Justice, who holds the scales wearing a blindfold. I think it's past time, and I'm not the only one saying this isn't a new idea, but it's time for us to consider, what have we been told that symbol means? We have been told that it means that everyone is treated equally before the law. When justice is considered, everyone is equal. And I question that. I question that deeply. I question, at what point do we consider collective and overarching atrocities, or you could even just call them issues that are inherently in our past and present: colonization, genocide, white supremacy, patriarchy. Lady Justice wearing a blindfold does not take into account those things that are inherently there because of our man-made structures and laws and ways of structuring society. So Pallas Athena, I feel like, wants us to imagine what it would be like to take off that blindfold and to see the structures in our society for what they are, to have a discussion about equity rather than equality. Much more constructive, much more, okay, we are biting on something that we can actually chew and digest and do something with here if we are talking about equity, because we will then be taking into account these overarching collective atrocities that are alive and well today, such as patriarchy, colonization, etc., that I was speaking to. And so when I am considering the fact that Chiron station is happening, and there is this, it's actually happening opposing Black Moon Lilith in Libra, exactly, which I find very interesting. And I think the symbolism there is that there is this, this pain inside of us. If we are willing to look and go there, there is a pain inside of us of all of the times out of survival, Capricorn, that we have had to suppress our individual selves, our authenticity, who we are, in order to survive with the group, in order to fit in, right? And this is why I'm saying actually being willing to look at that pain within our individual selves, because we all have it to varying degrees. Nobody escaped childhood never having to sacrifice their authenticity in order to survive. So it's a collective issue. And when we go in and recognize that pain, we are doing a service not only to ourselves but to the collective. And with Mars going retrograde into the sign of Cancer, beginning of January, we'll be entering Cancer. This is a time to go inward and reflect and allow time and space within the safety that we can create for ourselves, right? Like, we don't have to wait for safety to be created out there in the world. We can create it within ourselves. And in fact, that's where the journey of embarking on what safety is really, really begins, right? I think that considering emotional safety is something that the world doesn't really know. I mean, there is the most safety that I see out there in the world is in places like a food bank line, where people are like, blah, 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 this is what happened to me. And someone else just like walks up to them and is like, yo, man, like, that's so shitty. I completely get it. Let me give you a hug. Like, it's okay. We're in this together, you know? Like when people are just raw and real with each other, and safety can be created like that, like it is possible. It's not as complicated as we may think. It's just that it might seem that way because we don't know it. We've never experienced it. And so yeah, like creating the safety within the inner sanctity of our own hearts in order for us to feel those repressed emotions. I'll actually allow them the catharsis that they require, right? And this is something to be done with a, like I'm not saying like go in, feel the pain, like, get all rank and unsafe about it, putting yourself in danger and realizing, oh my gosh, I'm actually in a worse mental health state than I was before. That's not what I'm saying. Reach out to a therapist. If you have a supportive friend who can, check in, listen to you, talk to you, while you're doing this. Great. That's what we need, right? The journey is somewhat an individual one, and yet we need others, right? We need others to make sure that we stay afloat in it when we are really acknowledging pain that has been there for a long time. We need support. And so yeah, I feel like I had a bunch of other things to say, but I can't remember. But I suppose I'll talk about how this creates compassion. This creates compassion within us, because when we look inside of ourselves and actually face, to whatever degree we have capacity for at this particular time, it doesn't need to be like all in, boo, all or nothing, but it's like that is doing humanity such a service, because I think if everyone was to do that, I believe that the world would be a lot more compassionate. I believe that the world would be, I believe that relationally we would be approaching each other with a lot more respect and with a lot more ownership and responsibility for our bit in the web that is the relational web of everything. And so, and why do I think this? Well, because if we go around shoving down the pain, repressing the emotions our whole life in order to survive, right? And there comes an opportunity when that is just a running autopilot happening. It's actually not even necessary for our continued survival, but it's in this cycle of stuckness because it's just sitting down there and is actually perpetuating all sorts of complexes that rise up from our subconscious that cause us to have these complexes that arise as issues in our life. And so when we know that complex actually originated from a place of needing to repress in order to survive, it creates a whole nother level of self-compassion and compassion for others, which ultimately is what Chiron is about. I want to speak to the fact that no matter where we are within the systems and the structures of our society, whether we are, I'll just say that. No matter where we are, if we are working within them, working outside of them, if we are currently finding ourselves very oppressed by them, there is always acts of resistance. And again, we can look to our ancestors for that. No matter what situation, if you look back on humanity's histories and the atrocities that have occurred, like let's take death row, for example. Those folks still find ways to hold on to their inherent dignity as human beings while standing on death row. Like, wow. They still have compassion for humanity. Like, wow. So it's in us that no matter where we are situated within this systemic, within the system of society, we can resist. We can hold steadfast to our authenticity, even if it is just like the tiniest little movement of our body language, that still is something. And so it also might be a time for folks who are actually have the ability to exit the man-made structures and systems that uphold our society to a certain degree, because we all, we can't fully exit, but we can birth something alternative. We can create something new that is actually built upon a different foundation than that one, rather than continuing to work on the falling apart structure. It's just like, okay, I'm actually just going to turn around here and start laying down a foundation for a new structure, rather than figuring out how to reconstruct this mess. So yeah, it's an exciting time. It's also a time where, I wrote this a few months ago, it's hard being someone who takes a stand for collective accountability when it comes from a place of wanting to protect the light that is within the inner sanctity of the human heart. And so thank you to everyone who is persevering right now, even though faith might be challenged greatly. Thank you to all of those who are finding their own individuation so that they can be who they came here to be in order to heal themselves and be of service to the collective healing. And thank you so much for listening. I want to leave you with, I guess, a little hint that if you are questioning, well, what is my particular sort of service back to the collective? Most likely, you're already doing it. Most likely, it's something that you're naturally passionate about. You're naturally leaning towards and into. And so, yes, I encourage us all to keep the faith, to continue moving forward. Thank you so much for listening, and I will speak to you in the new year.